Good morning.
Morning.
Myself Aditya. I am currently pursuing my master's from School of International Studies JNU. We are very much delighted to have Moushumi Basu ma'am with us today. She teaches at School of International Studies JNU. Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us your precious time. Ma'am, it is an initiative of Tezpur Sahitya Sabha in collaboration with Book Nook. Through it, we aim to reach out scholars, academicians like you, to know about how they perceive the world, how they construct the world, how they think about the world, and of course about their book readings, how they read, how they think. So, before going to the formal part of the interview, ma'am, could you please let us know about yourself and your background, and of course about your academic journey?
Okay, my name is Moushumi, and I've been fortunate that my parents, they really valued education, and my parents ensured that their daughters, we are three sisters, so all three daughters had a good education. And my father, I still remember him saying, and he came to India as a refugee. So I understand that why he valued education so much. And he said, the only thing I can give you is not wealth, this thing, but to help you stand on your own feet. And that was something which was inculcated in us very early in our lives. So we had to, it wasn't that you had to spend hours and hours studying or anything, but whether you studied half an hour or 1 hour, whatever you did in school was enough. And if you got your homework, if you had, you did it quietly, but you must, you also had all sorts of other interests which were essential, to keep us going. So whether you studied for half an hour, whether you studied for 1 hour, the point was that that was time where you had to focus on that. Okay, so we were as a child, I remember, because I was the youngest, I always, our bedroom had this huge bookshelf which had all sorts of books, and which was our constant companion. So you wouldn't feel alone. You always had a book with you, and I think that is something which I really, really treasure, because I find it left an impression on me, and it helped me communicate as well as understand the world outside my family. Okay, that.
Then how you have started your academic journey?
Okay, so I was very much interested in social sciences, and within that I was interested in politics as well as society, etc. And so I did my graduation from Hindu College, University of Delhi, and um, after that I took the conscious decision of continuing in JNU, because here you had a school of international studies. And the conscious decision was that I really wanted to work on the international front. I felt there was much that the discipline could offer, which was not being offered. It was IR as a discipline in India is very much directed by state narratives, state interests, etc. And I wanted more of people's history, more about the issues which concern ordinary people to figure in the narratives of IR. And one of the ways which I learned very early was because I developed an interest in development, and that soon became my specialization. So within international relations, I was interested in following the issues of development.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, could you please let us know about your teaching style at JNU? How do you try to encourage critical thinking among such a diverse group of students?
Okay. Well, the classroom is, I feel, um, it's very nice to be in the teaching profession for the simple reason that you're constantly interacting with newer generations. And for me, I finished 20 years in the teaching profession, a little more than 20 years actually. And it's very nice that I can still communicate and make those points with a generation which is born post 2000.
Yes.
I think that is the challenge. And for that, I have to keep updating myself. I have to also learn the ways of the new generation
Yes.
in order to tell them that there is a continuity. There are breaks, but there are continuities also. So many of the things which they feel, oh, this doesn't concern us, actually, when they set out on their life journey, they'll realize that no, these are issues which actually it does concern them. They need to be, they need to know about it. They need to be aware about it, and to know and to be aware, you should also be able to think about it. So, in our schooling systems, where there's rote learning, there's also very little emphasis on appealing to students to think critically. It is, I unfortunately I see this even in the best of schools. The exam systems are so skewed,
Yes.
so there is no expression of individual thought which we allow. Okay, and now the higher education institutions are actually then spaces where, for the first time, students are expected to think. You can't do a PhD or you can't even do a postgraduate if you are not sure of what is your position on most things. How do you look at life? Even starting from a very substantive question of why am I studying? What is the purpose of this education? Right? So, critical thinking is a must in university spaces, and that's what I believe. And my style of teaching would be that I involve the class. I understand that people come from different backgrounds. Many of us are very shy, they don't want to speak, but in a collegial manner, if we can encourage all of us to actually express without fear. That is a big thing, that right now people are very cagey about expressing what they feel, and I think that's not good for a country. Okay, especially a country where, in Tagore's words, and I take this very seriously, we keep talking about it, that you have to have a mind which is not fearful, hmm? A mind which thinks, but yet we do so little to cultivate that in our students.
Ma'am, what's your take on hyperrealism, which seems to shape almost every part of our life today? We often talk about we should think in a realist way. In IR also, we often take the realist lens. And what's your view on that? A
Uh,
quote unquote hyperrealism, actually.
okay. Well, the position where I stand at, I teach in a division which deals with international organizations. So, the very essence of that discipline is that you have states, you have other non state entities coming together to coordinate, to collaborate. Okay, so the training that I have received, huh, for me, realism can't be a starting point. Okay, I want to believe that states do benefit from cooperative models. Okay, having said that, what does realism bring in? Realism talks about power. Yeah? Now, of course, when I teach Bretton Woods institutions and I tell them about how a specific choice was made to keep the UN system functioning in a particular way where sovereign equality was the norm, while Bretton Woods system would be, based on a Wade voting pattern. Of course, I can see the power dynamics. I can see how power is institutionalized. So, just because we accept power doesn't mean that we have to also accept the entire realist narrative. Okay? It's very difficult in development to not go by what ordinary people say and rather only focus on state narratives. Okay, because it's also a question of knowledge and power of knowledge. So if you are looking at experts and saying only experts have that knowledge base and you do not take into cognizance what others and ordinary people who are affected by those development policies are saying, then you are somewhere adhering to the fact that only the elite have a particular knowledge to offer, and it is that knowledge which states should accept because it's in their interest. Now, I find that very problematic. So, my take on realism is, of course, I enjoy reading an E.H. Carr, but an E.H. Carr is very different, and his book and his style is so different from the other realists that you shouldn't just go by the labels. I think the point is, what is it that you can take out from these theories is how I would approach it.
Ma'am, Oscar Wilde said, "A map of the world that doesn't include utopia is not worth looking at. Progress is the realization of utopias." Ma'am, do you think that utopia is attainable? And what's your imagine of utopia? And how do you see the tension between reality created by the powerful forces, of course, and the idea of utopia?
Okay, interesting question in the sense, see, utopia is based on imagination, right? And I think all of us should imagine. You have to imagine what you want for yourself, how would you like the world. We can't always be coped up and worrying about why is this happening, why is that happening, but we must also release ourselves by saying this is what I imagine. Once you start imagining, hmm, you and once you start conversing about your imagination, you will meet up with several others who also feel the same. So, utopia, there are levels to it, right? Huh? I want to go to the moon, maybe something which I imagine, but that's a very personal imagination. But when you talk about communities and utopias, I think there the at times we say we are basically asking for some things which are very, very minimal. I'll give you an example. In India, why is it that the construction workers or the daily wage earners still have to fight for their minimum wages? Now, is that a utopia? For them, just getting that minimum wage becomes a big challenge. Okay, for me, why, when something is legal, why is it so difficult? So I wouldn't say that we have to stop imagining. We must put our imagination, put our readings of utopia into practice. Okay, so what is out of bounds for one person? Let us find out why is it out of bounds. Okay, and make amends to that.
Ma'am, as we all know about the conception of feminism, that has evolving by taking a diverse turn in various phases of time. So, first of all, in what way would you like to conceptualize feminism, not in a theatrical term, but in a very personal way?
Well, my whole family is a feminist. That's how I would. That our first lessons in feminism should ideally come from this unit called the family. Okay, and feminism is talking about equality, recognition of dignity, okay, and a questioning of the social mores which regulate our lives. Why is it that women and men, the moment they step into this world, hmm, there are expectations and roles which are laid out for them, okay, and these expectations and roles actually get a societal, there's a legitimacy which is accorded to them. Now these are all created norms. So for me, feminism is something very, very personal. It's about giving space and also creating, using it uh, as a lens to also look at the things outside. Okay, so the feminist methodology is something which I have learned over time to employ in my own research. Okay, now what are those feminist methodologies? Uh, uh, they are simple things which you learn on the job. Okay, that what you understand as that the family is also a unit of power. Okay, so when I look at the census people, it always struck me how they would say papa hai ghar mein, it's the papa there, huh? And then they would make these notes without even asking people what they want. So it's all very filled in, pre-calculated, preconceived notions, which goes into recording a lot of our data, huh? So it doesn't, it's something which you then say that this is not correct. When you're on the field, hmm, it's not just quantity, it's quality, huh? And quality means, well, if you're talking to the man, then you're also talking to the woman, to understand where they are coming from. What is it? Okay, so feminism is a living experience. And to think, I mean, everyone can be a feminist. That's the utopia one would like to believe in.
Then Foucault talks about how self policing turns people into docile bodies. In the case of women, what does this show about the difference between simply being female and performing femininity?
Okay, so look at our Hindi films, or maybe some other films which are being made in India. You see, you have very set notions of how the heroine is supposed to behave. Okay, even when there's violence happening, um, there is this narrative which goes that you were responsible for attracting that violence. Why did you speak back to your husband? That's why he got angry and he slapped you and stuff. There is this narrative. Now, what I'm saying is, it when these narratives are constantly being reproduced, huh? So if there is a person who is attacked or raped, why is it that our society keeps saying, what was she wearing? Why was it at this hour that she was out? Instead of asking the other kind of questions. So the self policing is what one is, it's very problematic. We all believe that people should be free to do what they want, provided it's within limits. Okay, but who is going to set those limits? Why is it that the limits for women are more than what they are set for men? Why do you have hostels which say by 9 o'clock everybody, all women have to report back? Why? You're adults, you can vote for a prime minister, but the prime minister can't ensure that you have safety on the streets. And so you need women back in the hostels, right? This is the problem that I'm seeing. That, between somebody who wants to be free but is uh, uh, pushed by these notions of, oh, this is not what a good girl does. And these notions are not just from the society. Many a times they're coming from institutions which shouldn't be giving out opinions like this. So courts, where some there are court judgments where this sort of very soft, docile womanhood is actually encouraged. So it is a problem, and women and men have to realize that.
Ma'am, you often say about that the culture and art are shaped by those in power, especially states where tribal cultures are predominant, are being diluted by the meta culture like Hindutva. How do you analyze this shift through the lens of subnationalism? And one more question: do you think that the subnationalist consciousness is harmful towards the integrity of a larger nation state?
Okay. So let's first take up about individual cultures. Okay. Now, it is very important that we document cultures, cultural practices, whether they are from the minority, whether it's indigenous, whether it's the. I mean, how many of our students know about their own history? They don't even know where their forefathers, forget the forefathers, where, I mean, what were their grandparents doing, what is the history of the land that they came from? They don't know even their thing. So it's very important that the social history be captured. So when I look at an art object or any sort of a thing, I am more interested in how, what is the social history, who are the people who are engaged, what is the kind of dignity that is given to this profession within the larger community. So, for example, women in Bihar, they make, there's this grass called sikki, and they make baskets out of it. But before they started making baskets, they would make idols out of it. Okay, so, it is about documenting these social practices. Okay, the more you document, the more you will appreciate art for art's sake. Okay, you will appreciate, and these um, barriers between elite and the subaltern forms of art, they need to be broken down. Okay, that's one. Saying that, I think we also have to understand if there are uh, subnationalism thing, what, why is it arising? Okay, I think we can't just say there are these subnational demands, but we also need to identify the reasons why people are being are satisfied with the present. Okay, is it because they are not being accorded recognition? Is it because there is no participative forum for them? Okay, is it because their values, their understandings don't figure into the mainstream understanding in the way policies are made? Okay, so I would approach it from this angle. Okay, and within India, I mean, from UP, you had Uttarakhand coming out. In Andhra, you had Telangana. Okay, the point is, I would also urge that subnationalism also has to be careful that it doesn't get captured by the subnational elites. Okay, so it shouldn't emerge again as a minuscule reproduction of that which you set out to challenge. Okay, so that is my you know sort of a take on this.
Ma'am, how the over commercialization has created a havoc in front of the real music and real art of people.
Okay, so commercialization is not just in the field of arts. I would like to also bring you back to education, where I see education being commercialized. With the changes in the admission patterns, which, and now you have a centralized university exam. Students are no longer going to school. There's this whole culture of coaching centers which has come in. Coaching centers which will allow you, and they will advertise very proudly, they will help you crack the CUET, crack the JRF, Junior Research Fellowship, etc. Now, as a country, hmm, uh, we need to think about all this. And it's in that vein that I look at the commercialization of many, many things around me. It's very disturbing. Look at the commercialization in religious places.
Yes.
Okay, God is one, we are all standing in queue, but now there is a separate queue, separate prasad, separate this thing for those who can pay. Now, even if you believed in God, I don't think human society should be so crude about, giving openly the ones who can pay, or the ones who have power, the right to go ahead, without any qualms. So this is one. Second is, this commercialization is also carrying a thing of rags to riches kind of a story. It's a dream which is being pushed. It's like, in the ads, all of us are told to be fair and lovely, right? Huh? We are all have to ape. All the men have to be like a certain model. Okay, so we are fed a dream. Your generation has more things to be fed. My generation, very interestingly, when I look at my generation, I remember 82, 83, when the TV made an appearance in our house. It was a collective thing. It wasn't something which was individual. It was for the family, and those who could not or did not have a television or even a telephone, it was meant for other houses that they could come and also enjoy. So when Chitrahar was played on television, often it was a community get together where you got in. Now the change is that more and more it is becoming an individual thirst. So the child wants a mobile phone, the child wants a tablet, the child wants this. So it's no longer a community kind of a acquisition or a dream. In that, there is this rags to riches story. So you have a whole lot of these reality shows, huh? And which say that, come, sing, dance, do whatever you are good at, and you will be awarded this. Now that is trivializing art. Okay, we come from a culture where these were part and parcel of our everyday routine. Whether it was people who were working in the fields, they had song and music with them. Whether it was in the middle class homes, you had music. There was a certain element which made it part of our daily lives. Okay, today it is seen as a skill. Okay, a skill which can be monetized, which can get you somewhere. Okay, that's the point which I don't like, and I'm not very comfortable about. Music, sports, etc., have to be part of our growing up years, but also the years where we are in our adulthood and beyond. That's the only way we can be fit. Our minds need to have that. You can't just, put that as part of elementary school training and then forget about it. People have to have interests. And that's where the role of art, the role of literature comes in.
And do you read Bangla books?
Yes.
Okay. Could you tell us a little about your bilingual reading habits
Okay.
since childhood?
Okay, so my like in all Bengali households, we had to have our copy of the Abul Tabul, which is nonsense rhymes. And we were asked to read it nearly every day. And so at the end of it, most of us knew all the poems by heart, etc. So one was that when you were a child, there were certain very elementary books which you had to read. But as you grew up, you started my generation was also that where you were getting translations, okay, done. So many a time I would pick up a Mashweta Devi in English, but then my mother would prick and prod me and say read it in the original, okay. And yes, that so that was something which I would do, and I would enjoy reading it. I am slow, but I like enjoying. I mean, I like reading that those the usage of words.
Ma'am, could you also share the names and contributions of a few Bengali scholars who were bilingual?
So you have Partha Chatterjee, you
Yes.
have Sridipto Kaviraj. I mean, their work.
They
They
write
have
in Bengal.
well, they work, yeah, they work,
Oh,
and they so we used to have a very famous literary magazine called Desh.
yes.
Okay, so you do have people writing in that. Of course, Mashwata Devi is
Yes.
my favorite.
Mm.
The ease with which these people wrote in both. Hmm? So the very fact that the sources which Sudipto Kaviraj and all use, they are, I mean, they're Bengali sources. So of
Yes.
course, yeah.
Okay.
So
Ma'am, John Berger says reproducing arts opens it up to more people, but also turns it into a commodity. Do you think reproduction is more liberating or more limiting? And what might be the balance?
okay, well, I definitely can't own a Hussein, but I can own a postcard of a Hussein, right? And if the postcard gives me as much joy, then I'm all for reproduction. Okay, because reproduction there symbolizes a democratization that everyone has access to this reproduced. At the same time, however, if I am constantly seeing MF Hussein being used, or any such artist, their work being used to sell something, that it becomes part of the merchandise, then that is a bit
Problematic.
problematic. Okay, so yes, if you visit a museum, and it should have beautiful postcards, it should have reproductions of what is displayed, etc. There is no problem with that, because ordinary people, are carrying that back with them. That is a thing. But at the same time, when you have exclusive, uh, you know, merchandise being sold, then that is, and sometimes it belittles. For example, if a particular coffee uh, outlet starts making Gandhi tissue papers, or some other thing, that's belittling. I don't think I want to wipe my hands on a Gandhi tissue paper, right? So, so this is the level at which commercialization can stoop to, and we need to be careful of that.
Ma'am, given your work
You
on
want me to rephrase that?
Ma'am, given your work on human rights and labor migration, how do India's current policies toward undocumented Bangladeshi migrants align with international human rights standards? What are the ethical and legal challenges in addressing their status, particularly in Assam?
Okay, let me first. So, there are three parts to your questions. First, let me tell you about human rights and labor migration. Okay.
Ma'am, I want to add something, and
Uh-huh.
there is a concept precarity of citizenship precarity, and you can add.
So, now why are people forced to move? I think the state needs to ask that question. Why is it that people do not have jobs, or their land is being taken away, etc. And they are forced to move from where they used to stay. Now, movement is natural, but when it takes on a certain, there's a trend, huh? And in India, for example, you had an Interstate Migrant Act, okay, under which the workers would move from state to state. There would be a contractor who would get a license, which would allow him to help workers move between states. There were safeguards which were also written in that act, but that act was stillborn. The state never did anything to ensure that this act was followed, properly. The penalties for not following this act was very limited. Finally, under the new labor codes, this act has been done away with. Now, when the state fails to respond to these challenges, I mean, you are saying if people are moving, somebody needs to take a license and needs to document, and there were certain responsibilities on the labor contractor, that they're moving, their housing in the new place will be provided by the labor contractor, etc. Now, it's like the state's way of ensuring that people are looked after. When you don't follow it, what happens? The same workers are at the mercy of the labor contractor, who sees this as a cost. Okay, so we live in a country where not only are there minimum wages which are different from state to state, but also the sad reality that people, even within the organized sector, have to fight to get their minimum share dues. It is very, very disheartening. Okay. Now, in this comes another raging debate of the so called Bangladeshi.
Yes.
Now, in Assam, you may think it is a problem where these people are coming in. But sitting in Delhi, where I do see, the state actually sponsoring uh, and commissioning reports at universities to say there has been a huge increase in Bangladeshi population, which is problematic, etc. The state building up this narrative, and then them blaming each political party, whatever exists in whatever place, that you have allowed this to happen. I think at this point, one has to say, can a human being be treated as an entity who has no rights, even if they are um, aliens or foreigners? The Indian constitution, under the Article 21, gives the same level of protection to foreign as well as to citizens. Okay, so there is a larger obligation towards protection of human life which comes in. Okay, now when it comes to deportation, etc., you say that these are Rohingyas, these are people who need to be deported back. The understanding in the international sphere is, till there is persecution, the threat of persecution back home, you will not send them back.
Yes.
Right? That is the understanding in law. The crisis here is that we are moving away from being a very humane society. We are losing our sensitivities. Today it is Rohingya, tomorrow it may be somebody else. It may be somebody within your own citizenship thing who are being looked upon as the other. Okay, that is the danger. Okay, every human being, every animal, every bird, everything, there is a certain living uh, sense and a spirit which is alive in them. And I think that recognition that, whether it is rivers, whether it is mountains, uh, there is something that we as humans have to do to preserve them, has to be there. And if we can't accept that all people are equal, and that's even somebody who's crossed across from the border is not, is needs to be protected, I think we need to become more mature about how we handle this. I'll give you an example. um, we are using the labor of these people. There's a big thing in Gurgaon. There are a lot of domestic workers who are supposed to be from Bangladesh. They speak Sylheti, etc. This whole controversy is there. Why can't we have a system of regional movement where you accord these people the status of workers? You recognize that they have come from outside, they're living here, huh? And you don't have that sword hanging over their heads because you are accepting their labor, but you're not willing to think. You have an open border with Nepal. You have people coming from there who are not seen as a threat, who have been working here for generations on end, huh? So why can't we adopt the same with people from other neighborhoods, where you have that this person is coming in as a worker, recognized worker, huh? And is working here. There are poorer countries in Africa which have a common passport where people can go and work in other countries. Huh? I'm not taking the European Union. I'm just taking countries in Africa where this is happening. In South Asia, if that were to happen, we again have to think about and imagine a space where people are free to move, where they come, they work, and they go back.
Yes.
Huh? It is recorded. So we accept their labor, we give them the dignity of labor, and there is no sword on anyone's head. And
Ma'am,
of course, we need to stand tall and embrace all religions. I mean, this is very sad that we have to say this in the 21st century
but in
India.
ma'am, Assam, in narrative has been said jati mati bheti. They occupy our culture, our ethnicity, like Tripura. So there is a tension between this
Yes, but
two.
we can't. We have to be mature enough to handle those tensions. Some conversations have to happen. Na?
Hmm.
Those conversations, if they don't, the people have to take the initiative.
Hmm.
It can't be left to politicians.
Thank you, ma'am. Then, if you could take only four books with you to a desert island, which one would you choose?
That's very tough. It's a very tough question. I don't know. At one time, I read four books usually. I have books scattered. This is post dinner. This is pre dinner. This is, and I actually read four books generally at a time. Unless something is very good and then I want to finish it. Thing. So this is a very difficult question for me, that what will I carry on a desert island. There will be I will also have to look at weight. Otherwise, I would love to carry collected works. That would be a thing, and I'd be well equipped to handle life. But on a it's how the written word, it's how you say it. It could be a story. I mean, I love Old Man and the Sea, the book by Hemingway. I like I like non-fiction a lot. So for me, it's always been a mix. Yeah.
Ma'am, at last of the interview, can you please explain the idea of JNU to our viewers? Uh, the soul of JNU. Why JNU is different from other institutions?
Okay. So, having made a conscious decision to come to JNU, JNU as an institution has really shaped us. And what is it which makes it stand apart from other universities? It was conceived, it doesn't have, it's many of the universities here, they have colleges, etc. This was seen as to be a residential campus and which would offer admissions apart from the foreign languages school. It would offer admissions only at the postgraduate level. The number of students wasn't supposed to be a huge number. It was very intimate. There was an understanding which was like, it was not, education here was not restricted to just the classroom.
Yes.
And this is true. Whether it is the dhaba, whether it is the canteen, whether it's the library, it's the after dinner talks, the walls would speak to you.
Yes.
You would stand and read a poster and try and understand. It was also mini India, which was coming here. And why I'm saying this is the soul, because you had a system of deprivation points, which was very important. Where students who had studied in economically backward districts of India were given certain additional points so that they could. So we did have first generation students coming into JNU. Okay, now so that way it was a mini India. And here you were shaped. There was a commitment, to research, to opening up, getting to hear contrary views. See, university space has to encourage, like a garden, it has to encourage all sorts of plants to grow. Okay, it shouldn't be dominated, it shouldn't be a monoculture. Then those universities are very artificial. Organically, a university space is one where every kind of plant grows and they converse. So we are like plants. Yeah. So we come in as little saplings or whatever, and then we grow into trees and we learn to stand tall. And that standing tall is not limited to PhD, it's for life. It's for life. Okay, acceptance of others cultures in hostels, sharing, getting to know, oh, there is somebody who thinks this way, or even in terms of the food, huh? Learning that this is what is consumed, this is how it can be prepared in another culture. I mean, these are the things of life that will go into making you a more democratic citizen. Yeah. So
Thank you so much, ma'am, for
thank you.
giving us
Thank
your
you.
time. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.